Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs, and the room is stutters. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monet, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, I know it's been a minute, but I'm back with the jump off. It's your girl Stephanie of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, host and writer for Women's Wrestling Talk, and color commentator for the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, and soon to be Spartan Wrestling. I miss y'all so much, but your girl needed to take a little bit of a break. In the midst of everything else that's been going on, I've been going through technological stuff, all kinds of crazy things going on in my world, but I am so happy to be back here to do this extra special episode. Of course, this is HWP Extra live on this Saturday. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend so far that's full of rest, relaxation, all the things that you love to do, and all the things that you might love to watch. And I hope I'm one of those things. I hope my show is one of those things that you love to do and love to watch. So I'm so happy to be back here for this extra episode. Now, I've been announcing this episode over the past couple of weeks since this match has happened, and somehow or another it has never worked out due to some type of technical thing or some other crazy thing or whatever. But of course, I am here to continue my Mercedes Moné series that I am so happy that I have started and that has been profitable for the HWP brand. It's offered me my first 2,000 to 3,000 views. So I'm so happy for those who continue to support the brand, but then also those who discover the brand through me talking about Mercedes Moné and my love for her. You know, as you can see right behind me, there's a legit boss flag when she was Sasha Banks and stuff. So I've literally always loved this woman and everything she has had to offer in terms of her passion and love for the craft of wrestling and just her superstardom as it's continued to rise. So I thank you all for supporting me, you know, as I do this series, charting all of her matches that she's had, that she's having in Japan and in other places as she continues to grow. And of course, with this series, it's no different. We're talking about an amazing match that took place last month. Oh my, was it last month or 2 months ago? Either way, it's been a while back, but either way, it was last month. In Japan, as she defended her IWGP Women's Championship against Mayu Iwatani, who is, of course, the icon of Stardom. This was at Stardom. They had this amazing historic event called AllStar Grand Queendom. Now, for those who may or may not know, Stardom is an all-female Japanese women's promotion, and they have been, you know, in operation for a number of years, but a lot of people may or may not know about them. You know, if you're deep within the wrestling fandom, you might know about them, but then if you're not as deep, then you might not know about them. But here they are. I know last year they made a bit of a splash on Pro Wrestling Illustrated when one of their wrestlers actually was rated #1 above Bianca Belair as being the top women's wrestler in their women's 150, which caused a lot of controversy to a lot of people who didn't know who she was. But at the same time, it was celebrated and lauded for those who are fans of Stardom. So I'm so happy to get into newer levels of wrestling when it comes to all the places that Mercedes Moné is wrestling. And this whole entire card, as much as I was able to watch it, even though it was late at night on a Saturday into a Sunday morning, like, it was really amazing to see all of those women do a phenomenal job, on that card. It was very lavish, almost on the level of a WrestleMania. Like, it was very lavish and very star-studded, so it was really cool. But of course, this was the quasi main event here. I guess you could say the co-main event for the IWGP Women's Championship that was being held by Mercedes Moné. Of course, she won that title from Kyrie at Battle in the Valley, which took place here in the United States at New Japan, in America. So she had held that title, ever since February into March. And then, of course, as this match took place, you had a whole lot of different things happen with the press conference and all of the above. And Mayu challenged her after she defended the title in that triple threat that I did discuss with Azumi and Hazuki at Sakura Genesis. She defended that title. And then Mayu challenged her and said that she wanted, to win the title. And Mercedes didn't take too kindly to that. And she slapped her in her face. And she was like, okay, so you want to challenge me? Fine, let's go. And she declared herself as the Princess of Japan. So Miss Mercedes really has made Japan like her home, and it's really precious to see it. You love to see it. And of course, this is the title that she was defending. This is the IWGP Women's title that's still relatively new, but now has a lot of stuff behind it in terms of who's held it so far. And of course, Miss Mercedes has been really successful in terms of her views and everything that she's been doing in terms of like her being on The Mandalorian and her getting acting gigs, which I will get into a little bit later in the show. But Miss Ma'am is really successful. Her name is out there. She has just been doing amazing things, and her wrestling career is absolutely no different. Now, of course, someone that you might not know a whole lot about, in terms of Mayu Iwatani, she is, of course, the icon of Stardom. She came in this match with so much of a resume that was just like impressive when I looked into it. Like, it's insane. Mayu is, of course, the leader of the Stars faction in Stardom, and this faction, of course, has the likes of Seiya, Lita, Hanan, Hazuki, who I did mention, and Momo Kogo, who I believe is in the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong tournament for the women's title on tomorrow at Resurgence. So those are the people that she is affiliated with in that faction, and she's the leader of that. She is a two-time World of Stardom champion, a two-time Wonder of Stardom champion, a one-time High Speed champion, a one-time SWA World champion, two-time Goddess of Stardom champion, five-time Artist of Stardom champion, a 2015 and 2016 Cinderella tournament winner, and a 2018 5-star Grand Prix champion, as long as a one-time Women of Honor World champion when that title was in rotation, or when it was active. So Miss Mayu really has done a lot for someone, who a lot of people on the US side wouldn't necessarily know. She is very accomplished for someone who is very young. I believe she's in her late 20s, but yet she has done so much in her wrestling career. And now she gets to hang her cap as one of the people who faced off against Mercedes Moné, who a lot of people consider to be the greatest women's wrestler of all time. So this match took place at the Yokohama Arena, which is in Yokohama, Japan. And it was really cool to see this arena, because I had never really seen it before. I had never really known about it, but a lot of historic events have taken place there. And this event, which was an all-female card, because of course, like I said, this was with Stardom, was the first all-women's card to take place at the Yokohama Arena in over 30 years, after All Japan Pro Wrestling, this is their logo, had an event there, which was called All Japan Pro Wrestling's All-Star Dream Slam, which featured the likes of Bull Nakano and Aja Kong. So I did want to give them a little bit of a shout out because I believe they're not active anymore, but I did want to give that little piece of history there that a lot of places, a lot of events have taken place at the Yokohama Arena. So big shout out to them and all the events that they have going on there, and just big ups to past women's promotions that gave women, the ability to show what they had to offer in terms of their athleticism when it probably wasn't the most popular thing. Like that was 30 years ago, and an all women's card taking place in the United States, I believe 30 years ago, would probably be unheard of. So the idea that All Japan Pro Wrestling actually did this is really cool. So shout out to them and everything that they've, set forth with the women's evolution as we know it today. Japanese women's wrestling definitely deserves a whole lot of more respect and a whole lot of more eyes on it. So starting with this match, going into this match, you see Mayu Iwatani coming in with her side ponytail. It definitely gave me, excuse me, it gave me a vibe of Bailey back in the day when she was the hugger, even though I know she wasn't the person who started that, but I did, when I saw her with her side ponytail, I was like, oh, look at her coming out here. And she came out there with this beautiful pattern robe that I've seen a lot of Japanese wrestlers wear since I have gotten in more into Japanese wrestling. Like this was just a really cool robe to see her come out in, very colorful, and they were bigging her up as the icon of Stardom. And of course she is really small, but outside of that, she is a really amazing athlete. So it was really cool to see her in all of this grandeur when it came to her and her entrance with this match. So big ups to Mayu Iwatani for serving looks and serving style and serving all kinds of athleticism throughout this match. But of course, since this is the Mercedes Moné series, I have to go heavily into detail into what Mercedes Moné wore. Miss Ma'am decided to come out here dressed up in tiger mask inspired gear, which is of course inspired by her love of the late great Eddie Guerrero, who she touts as one of the main reasons as to why she wanted to get into wrestling in the first place and start her wrestling career. Now, for those who may not know, Eddie Guerrero did wrestle in Japan for a number of years, and he was known as Tiger Mask. And when he would come out, he would wear a tiger mask, kind of like the mask that she's wearing right there. And she had the whole outfit, made to match the mask. And then she came out with her robe and everything. Man, it was just so beautiful. Her nails were matching, her hair was matching. Like Miss Mercedes was giving us Tiger Mask 2.0. And then she came out in her robe, and then she took her robe off and then took off and showed us this fur jacket that had in red letters CEO. Y'all, I was finished. I was absolutely finished when she came out here in this stuff. And I was just like, ma'am, you're beautiful. I can't deal with you. It's like she ups the ante with all of her looks. And it's just, you just never get enough of it. You're obsessed with it. It is just so beautiful. And even to this day, even after this match, people are still talking about this gear and how she's serving a word that I will not say on the show. But yeah, she's just serving everything to us, and it's just so beautiful. I just can't deal with her. And then she took off the mask and revealed her wig, which was red and black. And it was just so beautiful. It just came it came out and it just matched with the red lining of her gear, and I just can't deal with her. I just can't deal with her. She's just so stylish, and it's just, oh my God, like how are we so lucky to live in a world where she is just an amazing woman giving us all of this amazing style? Like, how are we so blessed? How are we so blessed to see this woman be so stylish and so good as a champion and so good as a wrestler? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing that's just so correct? It's just so insane. But moving forward, of course, you know, as the match, before the match got started, of course, she was pointing at the title in front of Mayu Iwatani saying, "You will never win this. This is mine. This is mine." Y'all know Miss Mercedes got to talk smack to her opponents, and this is what was going on. This is mine. And this is what she kept saying to Mayu over and over again. But Mayu was staring a hole in her the whole time. So I was just like, I admire her ability to just say, I'm not being intimidated by you, Mercedes. I don't care who you are. I am going to try my best to win. So it was just cool. And this is, of course, this is Mercedes giving up the title as they were making the announcements. Like, she was like, okay, I'm giving you this title, but you better protect it with your life because this is mine. All right, this is mine. But yeah, it was cool. And this is them posing for the picture. And in the middle, I believe this is the owner of Stardom or New Japan. I'm not sure, but I have seen him in a lot of pictures with her. But either way, this is what was going on. They took this picture together, you know, before the match got started. And it was really cute. And Mercedes had this really confident look on her face. Like, I am that girl. This is the face you make when you know you are that girl. Look at that face. That is confidence personified. Okay? Confidence. Wig right, outfit right, makeup right, title in my possession. I run the world. Okay? Love her. But we are going to get into this match in just a few seconds. Let me get my slides together. Yeah, we're going to get into this match. So Miss Mercedes decided to get real aggressive in the beginning. She started pushing her and talking trash at her, and she was saying, look, she pushed her into the ropes and said, I'm the CEO. Who do you think you are? I'm the CEO. But then Mayu, of course, knocked her down after, you know, she did slap her in the face and mush her one good time. Mayu wasn't in the mood for it because they had been talking trash back and forth at each other in the coming weeks coming up to this match. Mayu was all like, look, I'm gonna win, and I'm the icon of Stardom. But then Mercedes was like, Mayu sucks, Mayu sucks, Mayu sucks. Yeah, 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 yeah. She was singing a song to her at the press conference, and then she slapped her and everything. So they were really heated with each other, and that definitely showed forth in this match. And of course, if you did watch this match, and if you are, you know, and if either one of these women are your favorites, you know, light up the comments, light up the chat, and, you know, you might pop up on the screen. But this was where Mayu knocked Mercedes Moné down and started punching her over and over again, saying, look, I'm sick of you. Like, punching her over and over again. And then, of course, they started rolling around on the ring mat, punching on each other. And Mercedes turned around and did it right back to her. And then Mayu did it right back to her. And it was just really, like, you could tell they hated each other. They were scrapping, okay? Just scrapping real hard. And then Mayu, I believe Mercedes Moné tried to cover her, but then Mayu kicked out, and then she hit a drop kick to her, and then she kicked her dead in the back. Now this was a very brutal part of the match that took place throughout, like, the whole iteration of them fighting. Mayu kept kicking Mercedes in her back over and over again. And like I said, Mayu might be really small, but when she utilizes her body parts to hit you, whether it's her fists or her legs, you feel it. And Mayu kicked the crap out of Mercedes's back multiple times throughout the match. And this was where it started. And it was amazing to me that Mercedes was able to keep going throughout this match and standing up, because Mayu just kept smacking her in the back with her foot. Pow, pow. And I was like, oh my God. Like, when she kicked her, it sounded like a whip. It was bad. It was just so bad. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Mayu was just giving it to her. And then this was where she gave her double knees and ran into her to knock her over. And it was just amazing. Like, Mayu was really giving it to her. And then, of course, after she tried to cover her, Mercedes rolled out of the ring to try to gather herself. And this is where Mayu hit a suicide dive onto Mercedes outside of the ring. And then a lot of people tried to catch them, but then it didn't work. So Mayu was coming in hot in the beginning of this match. Like, she really did come in hot. And during the first half of the match, she kept dragging Mercedes by her head and kicking her out amongst the audience and everything, just to get her together. Like, look, I'm sick of you. You think you can run me, but this is my country. This is my stardom. She was dragging her out by her hair and just kicking her over and over again. I was like, Mayu. When I was watching this, I was just like, Mayu, not too much. Not too much on Mercedes now. But I was low key just enthralled with how rough this girl was. I was just like, man, like, Mayu really was tired of her mess. And then, of course, she climbed up on top of her and tried to submit her outside of the ring. But, that didn't count when it comes to, in-ring action. You got to pin your opponent inside the ring. There were no special stipulations in this match. But Mayu was really trying to submit Mercedes, with by bending her arm backwards behind her head right here. Like, this was really cool. But, she had to bring her back into the ring, and she actually started stomping on Mercedes' head. And I was like, yo, Mayu is savage. She really is savage here. Like, she was stomping on Mercedes's head on the apron. And this apron ain't like everybody else's apron. Like, when these women hit on this apron, it was really hard. So I can only imagine what it feels like to have somebody stepping on your head on that hard of a ring apron. Like, I can't imagine it. But she was just, oh my God, it was crazy. But this is where the match turned in Mercedes' favor. She climbed up on the bottom rope and kneed Mayu in the face and turned and basically like jumped out into the ring and then ran back and gave her double knees through the ropes. And this is where Mercedes tried to get the upper hand here, and then she gave her the meteor outside of the ring, off of the apron and onto the floor. And that was really sick as well. Like, that was really cool. Like, I was like, dang, Mercedes, okay. And then Mercedes posed and was like, who am I? And then somebody literally stood up and said, CEO, CEO. And she was like, that's right. And I was just like, okay, we are getting into some rough territory here with this match. But in the first beginning, like, these women were really killing it. I loved it. I loved it. And this is where Mercedes took Mayu's head and ran it into the commentary desk, like, bam. I was like, God dang. Like, they were just getting vicious with each other. But this is how I love my women's wrestling. Get vicious, okay? And then she gets back in the ring and hits a pose on the top rope. This is my world. You're living in it. Type of energy here. Love it. And she jumped up and did a meteor again and tried to cover Mayu, but it didn't work. And Mayu, of course, kicked out. So it's just insane. And then this is where she hit her famous, well, not her famous, but Eddie Guerrero's famous Three Amigos to Mayu. And she actually did finish it. It was, sometimes you see people do it in the ring and it's not completed by the opponent, but Mercedes really did complete it this time, and it was really cool to see her do that, especially with her tiger mask gear on. It's so beautiful. Whenever she does tributes like this to Eddie Guerrero, it makes me wish that Eddie was still here. I really feel like he would have gotten such a big kick out of her. But in my mind, I feel like he is already, just from a higher plane. But yeah, you see that beautifully executed suplex? Mercedes is amazing. So yeah. And then this is where she went for a frog splash, but then Mayu moved out of the way. Now this was a factor that kept being present throughout this match. Mayu, you could tell throughout this match that Mayu really did study Mercedes, because as I talk more about this match, there were a number of moves that Mercedes was trying to do and trying to execute onto Mayu that Mayu kept wiggling out of and kept maneuvering out of. And you could definitely tell that Mayu really did her homework when it came to facing Mercedes. Like, it was really amazing to see how some women were ready for Mercedes's offense or whatever, or her defense, but Mayu came with the mindset that she was going in prepared to face Mercedes. And I'll get to that, when I get to it. But as the match went on, as you can see, Mercedes hit double knees in the ring corner onto Mayu, and then she climbed up, and then she put Mayu on to the middle rope, and this is where she was standing on top of Mayu's head and standing on her abdomen, and this is where she told the crowd to sing, "Mayu sucks, Mayu sucks, Mayu sucks," and then she started stomping on her head into the rhythm of "yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah," and here again, vicious Mercedes. Vicious, vintage vicious Mercedes stomping on her head to the rhythm of a song that you made up with a guitar purse that you bought at a store. Girl, she is just hysterical. I love her. She's not serious. And then she knocked her down and then tried to hit a 1, 2, 3. And then she tried to count with the referee. But here again, Mayu kicked out. So this is where Mercedes was trying to figure out what else do I have to do? So she tried to pick Mayu up for the money maker. And this was the first inclination that made me feel like kind of worried for Mercedes, because Mayu decided she was going to wiggle out of the moneymaker and just proceed to just kick her over and over again in her stomach, kick her in her face, and all of the things. And I'm just like, God dang. And I was just like, this is really where Mayu, you could really tell she did her homework, like I mentioned earlier. And then she climbed up on top of Mercedes for one of the most impressive maneuvers I've ever seen anybody do in the ring ever. She's not the first person to do this, but this is the first time I took full-on notice to it in my years of watching wrestling. She hit a crucifix slam onto Mercedes, and it sounded so gnarly, and it looked gnarly the way that Mercedes' head and neck and back hit the mat once she hit the crucifix slam. Like, it was so rough, because as you can see, once it hit, Mercedes was still upside down because Mayu had her covered for the 1, 2, 3, but then Mercedes kicked out, and I don't know how she kicked out of that, because that crucifix slam was rough. Like, she flew in the air from that crucifix. I was like, girl, Mayu, don't hurt her. But she was hurting her anyway. It was insane. I loved it because it was just so impressive how she slung her body backwards and made Mercedes fly in the air like so quick, and then boom, her head hit the mat. Like, yo, insane stuff. Insane stuff. And she tried to cover her again for a pinning combination, and she kicked out. And this is where Mayu also hit one of her splashes, and it actually, I believe it connected. And it was really cool to see her, be airborne in that way. But then Mercedes, I believe, like, got up and then still tried to hit the moneymaker and cover her for the 1, 2, 3, but it still didn't work. And this is funny because usually when she hits the moneymaker, that's usually where the match ends. But this was not the case because Mayu wanted to win this match super bad, like super, super bad. And this is where Mercedes started to get desperate. She was like, excuse me, that should have been 3. But the referee was like, no, ma'am. This was 2. So Mercedes really was just kind of distraught. Like, this is usually where it ends, but it's not. So you got to keep fighting, ma'am. So this is where she started to choke Mayu out and say, "Nighty night, Mayu. You'll never be champion." Mercedes is such a heel. I feel like her and Pretty Deadly are the only 2 heels I will ever love in my life because they are just so extra with their trash talk. They're so extra, and when they try to hurt you, they try to hurt you for real. Like, they are not nice about it. They will talk trash to you and let you and be cute about it and try to destroy you. They don't care. Nighty night, Mayu, you'll never be champion. Oh my god. This is just the stuff of legends. And I believe right here is where you can kind of see a welt forming on Mercedes Moné's forehead because she got hit so hard in one of those places, but yet she kept fighting. Like, don't ever say that she is not that girl and she will not fight through any injury, because she had a knot on her forehead and she kept fighting. So don't ever question her again. But yeah, she hit the backbreaker that she's so famous for to Mayu Iwatani, and then Mayu, fell out from it, and then she was like, I'm the CEO. It's all about me. Like, she was really feeling herself after that point. But then Mayu grabbed her abdomen and hit a suplex onto her that was very rough, and then went for the 1, 2, 3. But then Mercedes kicked out, and Mayu gave her another kick. But I believe this was where Mercedes caught it and then kicked her back, with her knee kick that she's famous for as well. And then this was where it got interesting for me. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm going too far ahead. I'm sorry. This was where Mayu actually hit a tombstone to Mercedes. Like I said, Mayu is a really small girl, but she's still relatively strong. Because you know how strong you have to be to pick up a whole other person? She picked up Mercedes and hit a tombstone to her. And that really could have ended it right there. But she was angry and she started yelling at the crowd saying, "Yeah!" And she started kicking Mercedes again. And then she climbed up on the top rope and hit a backflip splash onto her. This was really impressive. Like, when Mayu got airborne, it was really impressive to see her fly in the air like a bird and land onto Mercedes like that. And this was where you thought it was over, but then here again, Mercedes kicked out. These women were really giving their all to each other, and they had the time and space and storytelling to do it. And this is where women's wrestling thrives, okay? Like, even Mayu had to figure out what she had to do to put Mercedes away. It was insane. But of course, she picked up Mercedes, to try to hit a slam on her. But I believe this was where, this was where she also hit another suplex to her and her back. And this was really rough as well. But I believe this is also from hitting that suplex on her over and over again. This was where Mayu won the match. Now, the first time I watched this, I was devastated because I wanted Mercedes to be the champion, for all time and hold the title for like months on end. But this isn't where this is a different atmosphere. This is Stardom, and this is different, right? So Mercedes lost. I was devastated when I found out that Mercedes lost here. I was just like, excuse me? She's not the IWGP champion anymore? What? I was low-key devastated because I almost felt like the same way I felt when, oh my God, when she won the Raw Women's title back in the day against Charlotte, and I was so happy that she won. And I thought she was going to keep the title for a long period of time, and then she did it, and she lost to Charlotte, and they wound up tossing the title back and forth between each other. And she did say in an interview back then that a lot of people felt like she could be over without a title in comparison to a Charlotte Flair whose bread and butter is being the girl on top with the gold. And I get that, but a part of me was just like, no, I want her to have a substantial reign. And it sucked because her more substantial reigns didn't necessarily come until she won like the women's tag team titles in WWE, or until she won the SmackDown women's title that one time, and then she held it for months on end until she lost it, of course, to Bianca Belair in that historic main event at WrestleMania 2 years ago. So whenever Mercedes wins a title and then she loses it in a matter of 2 months or so, or a week or something like that, I get PTSD and I get traumatized, and I'm like, no! And that's kind of how I felt about this. So, but I had to, back and realize that this is a different, promotion, and they do things a whole lot differently here. And I have to be respectful of that. So I'm very much respectful of the reign that she did have, because Mercedes took this title everywhere she went. When the Mandalorian season 3 was making its premiere on the red carpet, she brought the title with her then. Whenever she had any interview at any convention around the country, she had the title with her then. For every press conference, she had the title with her. So she said she was going to take this title all over the world, and that's exactly what she did. And you can't fault her for that. You can't fault her for losing, because this match was rough. and it was tough, and she tried her level best to win that title back, but she didn't, sadly. And now we live in a world where, of course, she says she's not the IWGP Women's Champion anymore, and now it belongs to Mayu Iwatani, the icon of Stardom. She is the IWGP Women's title. I do believe. So congratulations to her. Unless a title change is taking place that I don't know about, Mayu is still very much the champion. So congratulations to her, because she impressed me in this match. I had never seen her wrestle before, but like I said, from all the things that she's accomplished so far, she's done a whole lot, and she comes with an impressive resume. So she really did show out in this match against Mercedes, and now she's the champion. So congratulations to her. You know, I love Mercedes, but when Mercedes loses, she loses, and you can't, deny that. And Mayu beat the crap out of her, so she left a knot on her forehead. So that was still cool. So congratulations to her. This is Mercedes looking sad, walking away like, oh my God, my baby. My baby is gone. Oh my God. She had to be carried away as Mayu celebrated. And even before she got out of the ring after she lost, it was almost like she was reaching out for the title in a dramatic way, like, oh my God, give it. Give it. It's mine, but it's not yours anymore, Mercedes. It's not yours. It's Mayu's now. It was just so dramatic and so funny. Like, she's going to give us the drama. She's going to act, okay? And this is Mayu celebrating. I do want to give her props here and just show her celebrating, and talking about, winning the title and how much it means to her, and having that trophy too. But then she got on the microphone and told Mercedes to come back into the ring. And she told Mercedes, look, you drive me crazy, which she does, because, if you saw any of the footage from that press conference, you know how crazy Mercedes was driving her and how she was being disrespectful to her a lot of the time. But she said, I have so much respect for you and what you've done in wrestling, and, you really gave it to me. And they gave each other respect and love as two women's wrestlers in the top of their game. And that's the kind of stuff that you like to see. And Mercedes, thanked the crowd in Japan, for welcoming her. And she thanked Mayu, for giving her an amazing match. And she said, you really showed me and proved to me why you are the icon of Stardom. And she told her congratulations and that she's not done. And she hugged her and she told her that she wants one more match with her for the IWGP Women's title. So Mercedes wants that title back, and we don't know exactly when she's going to be facing Mayu Iwatani again at Stardom, but it was really great to see them show each other respect in this regard and hug each other and say, look, I want one more time with you. One more time. So if we get Mercedes versus Mayu too this year, don't be surprised. And I can't wait to see it, and I will cover it on here. It's gonna be really cool. And she went away and waved to the crowd with that knot on her forehead. I just can't get over that knot on her forehead, guys. I'm sorry. Like, I've never been hit so hard that I've had a knot form. So, I mean, I've been scratched, I've fallen and been scraped or whatever, but I've never had a knot. So, seeing knots form on people's heads is like, oh my God, it's crazy. But she really did take a beating throughout that match. And she looked really sad. But then backstage, she said, look what Mayu did to me. Look at my face. Like, you might not be she was like, you are not the Undertaker, but the next time I face you, you will be a dead B word. And then she said that she has no plans of leaving New Japan or Stardom anytime soon, and that the next time you'll see her, she'll be in Long Beach, California, and she'll be with her cousin Snoop Dogg, so they'll roll up a big one. So, of course, on the she's not finished this weekend in Long Beach, she will be participating in the first ever one-night tournament for the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Championship, which will be taking place tomorrow at New Japan Strong Resurgence. Now, this is an event that does take place every year, but this will be my first time watching it. Mercedes Moné will be fighting in the tournament. She will be fighting first Stephanie Vaquer, who is a lucha libre wrestler from Mexico. So I can't wait to see that. And then in the tournament, you also have a Stars member, Momo Kogo, facing off against Willow Nightingale of AEW and Ring of Honor. And she is a friend of the podcast and a friend of mine who I am so blessed to have called action for at Black Girl Magic last year. And so happy to have met before she got signed. And I'm so happy to see her have all of these opportunities. And just thinking about the idea that she could win her match against Momo Kogo and fight Mercedes just blows my mind. And I hope she goes far in the tournament. I hope Willow does, win, and then Mercedes wins so we can have that level of Black Girl Magic. It would just be amazing, from the American side of things. It would just be really cool. But I do want to send good luck to Stephanie, of course, and also to Momo in the tournament as well. I can't wait to see how it all plays out on tomorrow night. Like, it's gonna be really cool, and it will take place at the Walter Pyramid. So if you're in the Long Beach, California area, please go check it out and support these women as they continue to set the bar really high for women's wrestling. So that's what Mercedes has coming up next, and I'm really excited about that. And yes, I will be covering the matches. I'll cover the match that she has. If she wins against Stephanie Vaquer, I'll cover that one. And if she goes to the finals and wins the title, I'll cover it. Either way, it'll be covered. HWP will be on it. And hopefully it won't take me as long to get it together either. So I'm really excited about it, about these matches taking place. So another thing that Mercedes has cooking is the fact that she will be in the movie called The Collective, starring Lucas Till, Ruby Rose, Tyrese Gibson, and Don Johnson. And this movie is set to release on August the 4th, which is SummerSlam weekend. So, of course, if you're into action movies like this, and if you just love Mercedes Moné like I do, please go see this movie and support her, as she gets her acting stuff on as well. So that's what she has cooking, on the horizon. And it's not lost on me that all of this is happening this week. Now, if you may or may not know, it's been an entire year since Mercedes and Trinity, formerly known as Sasha Banks and Naomi, left the WWE and walked out famously and infamously. And of course, I'm going to talk a little bit about how this happened and unfolded for me. I have talked about this before, but I believe it's worth talking about again on this platform. The night they walked out, on Monday Night Raw, when they were set to go in a 6-pack challenge to qualify to face the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, I didn't watch Raw that night. I was taking a nap. I went to sleep and then woke up the next morning and saw my phone blowing up from Twitter and messages and all of this stuff talking about Mercedes and Trinity walking out. And I was just like, what the heck is going on? And then they had gave up the titles and they were called unprofessional. And a lot of people, call them all kinds of ridiculous names and all kinds of ugly things just because, it came out that they were standing up for themselves and their booking and how much it didn't make sense. And of course, Trinity has come out now to talk about how she felt about walking out and how she said that she didn't like the way that she was being talked to when it came to her addressing the way that her and Sasha was being booked. So she didn't like the way that she was talked to. She was made to feel really low in her spirit, and she had just had enough. So her and Mercedes both decided to walk away. And a lot of people were broadcasting and forecasting their downfall, saying that it was stupid, that they could have just stayed and they'll just never do anything greater outside of WWE, and how anywhere they go after that will just be lesser. And they told us throughout the entire year that that was a lie, that the magic wasn't what the company gave them, that the magic lived within them. the music lived in their souls. And they let us know whenever they walked on a red carpet, whenever they modeled for any litany of clothing lines, whenever they appeared, anywhere together or apart, they let us know that the conversation is always going to be stuck on them and wherever they are and wherever they could be. Like, people went to wrestling events on the notion that these two women were possibly going to show up at their promotion. There were offers on the table for both of them to be anywhere that they wanted to be. But they were set to fail without WWE. They were supposed to falter out into obscurity without WWE. And they are here to tell you today that that was a lie. And I knew that was a lie, even though I might not have been sure. And I was devastated from them leaving, and I was crushed at first because I wanted to see all of the Black Girl Magic, because of course I still remember that picture of them as the tag team champions and Bianca as the Raw Women's Champion backstage at WrestleMania. I wanted all of that Black Girl Magic selfishly on a bigger platform. But just because, you may not see it, on that big of a platform doesn't mean that it's not real anywhere else. And they are showing us that their Black Girl Magic is real in wrestling, and it's not here to be commodified or here to be disrespected behind the scenes, and then you force them to go out and put on a pretty face and smile for them. No, this is not what we're doing. And the fact that they have been with each other every step of the way and supporting each other every step of the way, as you can see on that picture on the right, with Mercedes hugging Trinity after her debut at Impact Wrestling, it just goes to show you can't keep these women down. They have the magic. They have the ability. They have the athleticism to succeed wherever it is that they go. And it's just so beautiful. And Trinity making her debut in Impact Wrestling and saying what she said in the ring was just amazing. And seeing her face off against Kylan King, who was one half of the Impact Knockout Tag Team Champions this week, was insane. Like, watching her wrestle for the first time in a year had me about to be really emotional. Just watching her, because I had missed her so much. And seeing that she had never missed a beat. You wouldn't know. Because, of course, you had seen clips of her training. She never missed a beat. Mercedes never missed a beat. And I am so happy that these women are finding success where they are valued. Trinity has a t-shirt now. She has a micro brawler now. Like, I remember when all of us on social media had to beg WWE to give her new merchandise. And now she doesn't have to beg for scraps. She's getting the full meal now. And I am so happy for her. I'm so happy for her. And now she's set to face Giselle Shaw, the quintessential diva, at Under Siege. And it's just insane that she is now getting top billing in another promotion that a lot of people would have looked down on just because it's not as big. And it's beautiful to see her get this level of success and respect from the Knockouts division that's had the likes of Mickie James, Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, Daphne, so many iconic women on here. And now her star gets to rise, and Impact star gets to rise along with her. And she's also showing that people are coming to see women's wrestling. People don't just come to see the men anymore. People come to see the women as well. And I'm so glad to be a witness to this in my lifetime. To watch these two women bet on themselves, feel the glow within themselves, be the very best within themselves elsewhere. WWE doesn't make them or break them, and I'm just so happy that they are succeeding elsewhere. Now, of course, we've reached the end of our time together. So, since we've reached the end of our time together on this HWP Xtra, and of course, with it being a year removed from them walking out and they've succeeded, I'm still trying to succeed myself as well. So if you haven't already, please purchase my merchandise on foryourwear.com/Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and you will find my 2 new t-shirts for the Bold and the Bloodline, celebrating the Bloodline when they were in happier times, holding all the gold. And of course, you can buy my Beyonce's t-shirt celebrating the love of Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair and Montez Ford of the Street Profits. You can purchase both of these t-shirts in all sizes, from small to maybe, I believe, 4 extra large or 5X. You can purchase it at foryourwear.com/Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and it will have the logo of the podcast on the back. So if you have a mind to, please purchase these t-shirts. Please purchase, please purchase, please purchase. And you can still buy the Alabama wrestling t-shirt with that big Bama energy. You can buy it in either red or black, and it celebrates all of the people who are from Alabama, just like me, who have made strides in the wrestling world, like Sensational Sherry, Teddy Long, Kayla Braxton, Paul Bearer, Fuego del Sol, AQA, who is set to make an appearance on the new Hot Wheels show on NBC. So congratulations to her for that. And of course, Deborah. So please purchase those hoodies and t-shirts at foryourwear.com/Hardy Wrestling Podcast in all sizes. And of course, if you want to check me out on other platforms, you can check me out on Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. On Mondays on the WoW Superheroes After Show with Katrina from In Cat We Trust and Emily May Heller. And you can check me out on the now SmackDown After Show with our editor-in-chief, Dreon Santana, on Fridays. We're no longer doing or covering Rampage because, of course, AEW is creating a new show called Collision. So the other women who cover, the Dynamite Dolls who cover AEW, will be covering that from now on. So the SmackDown Rampage After Show is now just the SmackDown After Show. So please check me out there. And also, if you're looking for commentary work, panelist work, or for a host or a writer for your wrestling needs or wrestling website needs, you can always book me. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy, and email me at hardywrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, on this graphic, you can see all of the places where I have been, and you can find me as well. So with that in mind, I am so grateful to be able to continue to do this show, and grateful to continue to talk about all the things I love about pro wrestling. And with that in mind, a new season of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast will be starting pretty soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but it will be starting pretty soon. And I'm really grateful for all the success that I have been able to accrue from this show. Of course, continue to vote for me to win Bama Podcast of the Year award at the Alabama Music Awards this year. I'm grateful to be nominated for that. And just continue to be, on the lookout for anywhere that you might see me, because you might see me at any place. You never know. So yeah, I'm continuing to be successful and thriving, and we're just gonna keep this train going. So of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy on this HWP Extra, charting the journey of Miss Mercedes Moné. And until next time, bye y'all.